Hello, everyone. Dr. Christine Smith back for a wonderful interview for you today with a teacher of mine, Rosi Pletzer, who is a facilitator and instructor of Psych-K. And Psych-K is a subconscious reprogramming modality that you can use to help your mind get on board with what you truly want it to believe and help your body get on board with what you really want it to believe. And these things are to change the stress in our body. We can start to change our own biochemistry. We can change a whole bunch of things just by learning how to really access these systems and how to work with them in our benefit and how to apply these things in a way where we get to shift the perspective that our mind is taking on our life and something that we might be stuck in, an emotion that we might be stuck in. But it's a way that we can start to really transform the thoughts and we can start to transform the feelings. And there's a variety of different approaches to this, whether it's just simple through a statement, because a lot of the time people will do like affirmation statements and they just don't quite really land for them. And then sometimes we just need a way to neurologically imprint them into our system in a way that we're congruent with. Because usually if we're doing affirmation statements and it's not working for us, it's because those statements are incongruent with us in some way. And so if we can find a way and have a friend or a facilitator or a practitioner help us to reframe a perspective that we just can't see from the place that we're stuck in, it can make a really big difference. And reframing this perspective is how we start to reframe the signals that our mind is sending to our body. So with the history of Psych-K, it's even supported by people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief. And the idea behind that is that our thoughts and our state of being change our cellular lining. It changes these signals that our cells are sending back and forth. It changes what signals can enter our cells. It changes what receptors are available simply by changing your thoughts and the energetic output from your mind. And then when we start to change our cellular physiology, our chemistry starts to change, our literal cellular foundation starts to change. And I apologize for the delay. For some reason, we seem to have a little bit of a tech issue here. So let me try one more time to help Rosi get on. And if for some reason it doesn't work, we'll try another modality. But when we start to really change this chemistry in our body, it makes a huge difference. And that is one of the reasons I wanted to bring Rosi on today, is she's been teaching this for years and just really become an expert in it and seen so many transformations with people, taught tons of practitioners how to create these transformations for people and create what we call the isumatak space, which we can dive into a little bit more. It's kind of like this holding of space for people. But thank you so much for joining me today, Rosi. How are you? It's good to see you.
Yeah, finally. I worked out the camera. No, I'm really well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. No, thanks so
Good.
much for joining me and dealing with tech issues so that we can reach more people. But I really wanted to just allow you to chat a little bit about your experience with all of this so that people can understand Psych-K at a deeper level. So I'd love if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know we've talked about it, but you have a very interesting background. And then ultimately you ended up falling in love with teaching Psych-K. I'd love if you could just share a little bit about that experience.
Yep, sure. Yeah, so my background is mainly in health and well-being. So I started off nursing and then I studied naturopathy and biochemistry and environmental medicine and had two complementary health clinics in my hometown and was happy with that. It excited me and it was fulfilling. And then my life kind of imploded in a way, as can happen. And I realized I didn't actually have the tools to navigate that as well as I would have liked to. And I ended up meeting Bruce Lipton on a cruise at the time. I was on the cruise trying to get some clarity and help myself move forward. And Bruce actually recommended the Psych-K workshop. And I got myself to a Psych-K basic workshop, and it really ended up being one of the best tools that I've learned in my life. And it keeps on giving. It's something that you can pull out and use whenever you hit a roadblock in life. It also helps you become more of an architect in your life, really being able to direct your life with conscious wisdom rather than subconscious, outdated programs. Yeah. So that was, I think, 12, 13 years ago.
Wow. And you've been teaching
Yeah.
since then?
I haven't been teaching. I've been teaching this is my 9th year teaching. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So over all your years of experience, why do you think Psych-K is the most effective modality you found, even after studying naturopathy and environmental medicine and conventional medicine? So curious as to your thoughts.
Yeah. I think the biggest environment that we are exposed to is that of our own mind. And I think everybody can relate to this, that narrator in the head. And if it's a positive environment, that's fantastic. But now and again, it's a really limiting environment. And that's because of the beliefs that we accrue for the early years of our life. So I was a bit of a bully to myself. I think I was always telling myself I never had enough time. There was more I should be doing. So it was so nice to be able to create more of a friend in my subconscious mind, so that my self-talk was a lot more loving, a lot more supportive, a lot more enhancing rather than limiting. So for me, once I realized that it had such a major impact on everything else, I heard more and more the people I was working with in my clinic. I kept on hearing their limiting beliefs as they were talking to me, and I kept on wanting to use Psych-K rather than the other hats that I'd been using for 20 plus years. So it really became louder, I guess, that this was the pathway I wanted to follow.
Absolutely. And I think, going back to like the limiting beliefs that you're talking about, there's so many different versions of them. And it's like if we're acting out and we're feeling hurt, or if other people are acting out and feeling hurt, it's usually because it's coming from some kind of old imprinted pattern that probably doesn't have anything to do with the other person involved. And it's more of our own stuff. And so this is a way that we can start to peel back the layers of our own misconceptions where we make ourselves miserable in our lives, but it's because of a perception that we're holding that isn't even true. And so this is a way that we can start to break through those things. So
Yeah.
I'm so curious, because you've worked with so many people and so many facilitators, what have you seen as some of the biggest personal blocks that people encounter in this kind of work?
There's some really common ones, and it's self-love, self-worth, believing that we're good enough, believing that what we do is good enough. That's probably the most common, that doing our best is good enough. The other ones is really around self-love and being valued. And I think, I don't know, when I was growing up, we were valued for what we did, so it became valued in the doing, not in just the being. And I think our self-value is so attached to external factors. So being able to share more supportive beliefs that I'm valuable just by being is such an important mindset to start developing. It's unstoppable. It's unlimited. We just meet ourselves where we are with Psych-K and update what needs to be updated, and then live from that new paradigm. I love the way you said story. We're living our own story, and then we bump up against somebody else whose story impacts us, and we can get offended, or they can get offended, and then it creates this whole thing. Whereas if we just clean ourselves and really help break past or through those limiting beliefs of feeling slighted or feeling impacted by others so much, it just creates an inner peace and such a higher level of contentment. For me, I used to be so scared of making a mistake. I would think the world was going to end. And now I'm happy to admit, when I make mistakes and just get up and dust off and start again. That's another common example, I think, of people that have been so fearful of making mistakes or hurting other people or being hurt by other people. They're really common.
Absolutely. And I think, we forget that our triggers are completely subconscious and that the
Yeah.
subconscious is 95% of our mind. So it's like if you're having an interaction and like, it's not to say that you can't have emotions, but if you feel your entire system get amped up or shut down instead of
Yeah.
just going through that emotion, you just got triggered and you're dealing with something that is from your past and isn't necessarily the situation that's going on. So it's like a way that you can start to recalibrate the intensity that you react to things with so that it's actually calibrated or the software is updated to respond appropriately to the situation that's going on. So I really like the software update analysis
Yeah.
comparison. That's great. So I think a lot of people, sometimes we talk about like how subconscious modalities can also affect the body, because I know Psych-K even has some advanced courses in like health and wellness. But how is it that Psych-K works to affect the physical body? And I know, like, I was kind of explaining a little bit of stuff at the beginning, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yeah, sure. There's no magic in Psych-K, but our mind-body system is incredible. So our subconscious actually governs the physical body. It governs the electrical signals to the muscles. It helps us breathe. We don't have to think about breathing in and breathing out every second. So that the subconscious actually governs the physical body. So if we're in a state of fear or stress, we're actually secreting certain chemistry that helps us, as you say, fight or flight or freeze or really just survive through that period of time, but it doesn't help us heal and it doesn't help us recover. So it's a different chemistry that we need to really turn on the healing chemistry of the body. And to do that, we can't be in that fear or stress mode. So if we can enhance and optimize our subconscious mind to be enhancing and supportive and towards a state of peace and non-attachment, then we're really helping our physical body rest or lean into a beautiful chemistry of recovery. So it's a totally different environment. So, I think that's what intrigued me the most from my environmental medicine background was this: we're actually creating a soup of chemistry through our reactions and responses. So we almost have a responsibility to ourselves to live happy and calm and content lives, because that's actually what's going to create optimal health and well-being in our system.
Absolutely. And there's the lowering of stress, which helps our body not go into like a breakdown state and enter a building state, which is that recovery that you're talking about. But then there's even really cool things where you can focus on a specific ailment or condition, and you can even use Psych-K to like have a conversation with that condition or that situation and
Oh,
ask
yeah,
if it is trying
yeah,
to tell you something, which I find fascinating. Yeah, go
yeah.
share anything you want on that.
Cool. So I know what you're talking about. So we learn how to really get messages or get directed by a higher part of the mind that can see a bigger picture of our life, and it can help direct us to gain a message or an insight about something that might be happening within. So what a condition within the body might have actually a message that we can receive that's going to help us, I guess, understand more of why we created that condition in the first place. And once we've got the message, oftentimes the condition changes. So that's one way we do it. And then there's also, in an advanced Psych-K workshop, we can actually even talk to or have a conversation, as a super conscious or a subconscious conversation with a condition as well. Lots of fun. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
hard for us to get our heads around at this stage of understanding in terms of Psych-K, but yes, a lot of fun.
Well,
Yeah.
I also think of it as like when you're moving through those emotions, right? Like even in Eastern medicine, like emotions are associated with different organs. So as you're moving through an
Yeah.
emotion, you're helping to cleanse the organ of that emotional debris. But also when we're focused on, an idea of how we want to heal and we're very clear on it, and then we're sitting there with intention and we're neurologically imprinting it,
Yeah.
that in itself starts to send different chemistry and signals in the body, which is essentially what Dr. Bruce Lipton's work is about. It's all about like
Yeah.
the thoughts and the signals that you send out completely change your chemistry. They change the receptors on your cells, and they change the metabolic process that the cell is going through. So with this, even with just the basic workshop, you can start to really affect these things. And so I love all the different avenues that we can approach with this. And it's, practitioners can do this. And there is this concept of what is called the isumatak space. And it's really this idea of creating a sacred space for someone to process their own internal wisdom while we hold, unexpected, unconditional loving space. And that can be a practitioner, but it also can just be anybody that wants to learn this. You can learn it for yourself. You can learn it to do it with your family. You can learn it to do it with your kids, with your partner, with your friends. And then as a practitioner, you can use it with your clients. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be, you don't have to be in healthcare. You can be in coaching. You can be in a variety of different professions. Like, what are some of the people you've seen come through the workshops?
Yeah, I've seen psychologists embrace it. I've seen engineers embrace it. You name it. I think we've probably had it at a workshop. I did a children's workshop where they were quite young, and they learned how to do it for themselves for things like schooling and just growing up challenges. We had I've had lawyers do it. I've had doctors do the workshop. I've had coaches do the workshop. Parents, lots of mums and parents love doing the workshop so that they can actually do it with their families and friends as well. So that's a big driver. I think mums are often the nurturer of the family, so they take on that role quite readily. Yeah, I think from all walks of life, all ages. I've had as young as 9 and as old as 94. So, yeah, it's really crosses a broad range of people. I think the main common factor is a willingness to step into that self-responsible role of wanting to change and wanting to change the things that need to be changed, break the cycle.
Yeah. So
People who are willing to break the cycle.
really
Yeah.
great option for anyone who's been feeling like you're just stuck in this place of like, why do these things keep
Yeah.
happening, right? Because it means that you're kind of stuck in your own story but you can break out of it. And I love that you said that you did a workshop for kiddos, because like, what a cool thing to program your own mind
Yeah.
as your brain is developing, and then
Yeah.
those pathways get wired in for a lifetime. Like, that's invaluable. Then it's like, as with kiddos, and they don't have the fully developed frontal lobe for being able to analytically process a problem, like, what a way to work through an emotion and be able to like actually move through that in childhood or teenage years, instead of being stuck on the extremist version of it, which is what tends to happen when our frontal lobe isn't totally firing, which also happens when we're stuck in fight or flight, right? We can't use our frontal lobe properly when our body is stuck in a fight or flight state. So this is also a really great way to just start to break that state slowly but surely and work through the layers that tends to be a part of anything that we're dealing with. I feel like most of these processes where we get stuck, like, there's different layers to it. And I liked how you had talked about it in our class. You're like, well, to really solve something, sometimes you have to hit it from about 6 different angles. And I know, like, if you're open to sharing, I know you had even used this to quit smoking, but you had
Yeah.
mentioned that it wasn't just being okay with quitting smoking. It was also like, I'm okay standing with nothing in my hand. Like, would you be willing to share about the different
Yeah.
angles you had to hit that experience from? Because I'm
Yeah.
sure plenty of people are going through things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's different, it's different for different people. So we all have our unique story. We have our unique way of how that story was formed, and the beauty of Psych-K is it's individualized to whoever we're working with, or to, if we're working with ourselves, to us. So for me, smoking was something I'd started quite young and was deeply, what I considered deeply ingrained. I wanted to be free. That was my first goal, I guess, in wanting to quit smoking, was just to be free of it, not have it rule my life anymore. So one of the first beliefs I created was I can live free. And then I realized that also smoking was being a friend in a few ways, if you like. It was helping me suck up when I was angry. You know, I would, if I was angry, I'd have a cigarette instead of voicing my anger. So I realized I needed to be also happy navigating anger and expressing anger. So that was another belief that I did. And as you said, I needed to believe that I could be happy with my hands by my side. I had this belief that I needed to be doing something with my hands all the time, fidgeting. So I also created a belief that I was happy with my hands by my sides and at rest. There were a few other things. Oh, I think also a cigarette was my little stop button. So during the day, I would, stop for 10 minutes and have a cigarette. So it was my way of giving myself a little bit of a rest during the day. So I also had to create a belief that I could give myself a rest when I felt like giving myself a rest without having to have a cigarette to as an excuse. Yeah. So as you say, there's that multiple prongs or multiple perspectives that can be used to break through towards one goal. So it might just not be one subconscious belief impacting a behavior. There might be 6, 7, 8 different subconscious beliefs all impacting to create a certain behavior or habit. Yeah. And the beauty of Psych-K is we just meet ourselves where we are, and it's quite an organic process. So it kind of uncovers itself as you go through the process or the methodology. I had a participant recently tell me it was a bit like the Russian dolls. You know, you start with the biggest Russian doll and you get rid of that one, and then you get to the smaller Russian doll. And I thought that was a nice analogy as well.
That's a very good way to put it. And like one of my other questions for you, I think this leads beautifully into it, is just like, even if you're not a practitioner, why is this beneficial for anybody to learn? And we are kind of just covering it. It's like you can start to address any of your own habits or addictions that you want to change. I used it with a little girl for improving her sleep. And it's like
Yeah.
simple enough that I can use it with kids, which is great. But even just working with yourself, you know, if you're having cravings, if you're having that emotion, it's like a way to move yourself over that hump. But any other thoughts of just like how you've seen this benefit people who aren't practitioners?
Yeah, I think everybody's got a subconscious mind, and I think Bruce says it really nicely in one of his videos. There aren't many of us that had the perfect parent that was perfect in every minute of our lives, you know, so even the best parent helped install some limiting software. So it's a way of updating ourselves and becoming more responsive, less reactive, really helping us remove any resistance to living our best potential in life. And I think everybody has a yearning to do that at some level. So I think when that yearning gets louder, it's kind of time to embrace something like Psych-K. And Psych-K is fast and it's simple, so it's user-friendly. It means there's pretty much anybody can do it. So it's not really hard to learn, and it's easy to implement in daily life too. So it's actually something that is not intrusive and doesn't take a long time. So
You could do it on a bus bench. Like it can really be done anywhere. And it's,
yeah,
you know, for anyone listening, it's kind of like it's learning this process of how to analyze yourself, how to listen to your own body,
yeah,
how to understand how to use your body as a tool in the process for like a neurological posture, and then how to move through something. So it's like it's a little bit of a technique to learn, but once you learn it, you can apply it to just about anything in your life. And
yeah.
it's just sometimes we need a tool. to work through things. You know, like we can sit there, we can talk about it all we want, we can talk about it to other people and talk in circles,
Yeah.
but sometimes that's not what we need because that's the conscious mind. So this is a tool for the subconscious mind, like more down to like a deep brain, like limbic brain, survival brain level, where we can start to reprogram those circuits and, as you said, update the software. So I love that description. If there was anything else that you wished everybody knew about this topic, what would you
Yeah.
want them to know?
I think a lot of people think they know what they believe at the subconscious part of the mind, and I wish people would understand or could understand that there's no way we can know what we believe. It's below the level of conscious awareness, but we can see areas in our life that we want to do a little bit differently or experience a little bit differently, and that's what we can use Psych-K for. And it's such an amazing gift that you can give yourself. It really means you can access your logic, reason, emotional parts of the brain at the same time. You can create your full response potential to nearly anything in life. So as soon as you feel a bit of resistance or you're feeling impacted by something going on, you can pull the tool out and update it, and then you're living from that new perspective. And that is sustainable change. It's not something that you have to do repetitively. So once you've updated that part of wisdom in your subconscious part of the mind, it's done. It's sustainable. So it's beyond other, I call them self-help methodologies, and I think they're great. But Psych-K shines because it really is what I call an evolutionary tool. It really helps you to evolve yourself in a really meaningful way. Yeah, so that's what I wish people would realize, that consciously, I love it. We still need to do our conscious work. We're still consciously learning and growing, and that's awesome. But we can't talk to the subconscious mind the way we can to the conscious mind. We need a tool that we can use to communicate and access that part of the mind so that we can align that to the conscious goals and desires and wisdom that we're growing.
Kind of like an ego override so that we can talk to the
Yeah.
highest version of ourselves.
Yes, I love that. And it is. It's going beyond that, going beyond the ego. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Really cool.
Beautiful. Well, I'm so excited to just tell people about this because one, it's like one of the things that I use probably the most in practice, and it's fast and it's quick and it's
Yeah.
easy. And it's also like for anyone interested in muscle testing, that's one of the tools that we use to communicate with the subconscious mind. So it's a way to start using that tool in your life, which is essentially learning how to use your body as a circuit board neurologically, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. And through all this, we want to make this more available to people. So Rosie's actually going to be coming all the way from Australia to Denver to
Yeah.
teach one of the Psych-K basic workshops from June 7th to 9th. And I just want people to know about this. Like, anybody can attend, anybody can come. And it's really, if you're on a path where you're wanting to create more tools for yourself to transform your life in a variety of ways, whether it's transforming your body, your mind, your relationships with people, your business, your profession. It's great for entrepreneurs. Like, talk about like manifestation and mastering all that. This is one of those ways that you do that because you get your brain on the right wavelength for it. But if there's anything else that you wanted people to know about the workshop who might be attending, what would you tell them?
I'd say that it's you feel like you're a bit in a time bubble. Time seems to have no place in a Psych-K workshop. Nobody gets bored. The time goes really fast. It's an experience. It's not a seminar. It's you learn the tools that you need to, absolutely, but you also are practicing and experiencing the methods during the workshop. So by the end of the first day, you're already changing beliefs, which is pretty amazing. And as you say, you learn the communication tool of muscle testing in that first day also. And in the second day, we're really addressing what do we want to change and how can we formulate that in a way that is meaningful to the subconscious mind. And then the third day, we're actually putting it all together so that you're actually giving a full session to another participant and receiving a full session from a participant. So you really see that growth in the 3 days. It still really amazes me every time. It never gets old to see the difference from day 1 to day 3. We also do post-workshop. We have a Zoom call once a week where we can just check in with each other. How's everybody going? And yeah, just things come up after a workshop, and it's nice to have access, be able to ask questions, get answers, or just get stuff clarified. And it also is like an accountability to really get it used in daily life. So that's for 4 weeks as a weekly Zoom session after the workshop. So it kind of doesn't just park itself at the end of the workshop. The passion is that people are using it for themselves and using it for what they want. So yeah.
No, I like that reminder for people. So it's like, it's not just the weekend, you're like getting a community out of it. You're getting people
Yeah.
to practice with, you're getting people to do
Yeah.
sessions back and forth with on your own time and your own freedom. And the way the community that Rosie has set up on the back end is probably one of the better communities I have run into after doing workshops and stuff. You don't run into that all the time. So that is one of the things that I really particularly love about her as an instructor.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for you to be here, and it looks like we already have some people who are interested in everything. So for anyone reading, I know somebody asked, like, is this a book or a podcast? There is a book about it called The Missing Piece, but it's not really something you can learn from a book. It's something that you do have to really learn in person from an instructor, because it has, like, you use your physical body during it. So it's pretty hard to just learn it from a book. Plus, it's kind of about going back and forth, having someone hold space. That's part of the reason the time flies so quick, is because you're doing a lot of like almost like internal self-hypnosis. So all of a sudden time just evaporates. So really it goes quite quickly. But thank you so much for joining and just sharing a little bit about your experience, because I think there's no better way to understand it than from someone who's been working with it for a decade plus. Any last things you'd want people to know?
I think, no, not really. I think, as you say, it's really something to be experienced. It's simple. Please don't feel nervous about learning it. We go at everybody's pace. It's a really nice 3 days. Yeah. So
Definitely. Well, and if anybody wanted to work with you, because I know you also do private sessions and everything, and you do things from working with high performers to working with an orchestra as a group to really get like cohesion there. If there was anybody out there that wanted to work with you, where would you send them?
probably they can contact me through my Instagram account, or they can contact me on my website, which is mindsalign, mindsalign.com. So they could email me, and we could set up a time for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And for anyone who's interested in the workshop, you can check out the link in my bio. Just click my name and then click the top link in my bio. It'll take you to a page where you can find out more and watch some videos from people who have been through it, as well as the creator of it, and just understanding it more. And then if you are interested, reach out to us and let us know. And sooner the better. Like, we'd love to have you as a part of the group. I know it'll fill up quickly. And yeah, we hope to see you there. And we hope that even if we don't, you have gained something new to explore today, and know that whenever your interest arises, you're welcome to reach out to either of us. So thank you so much for your time today, Rosie. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate you too.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great day.
Yeah. Bye.